This episode of Twin Cities Trekkies is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor before, let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that help you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership required. They'll also help you to distribute your podcast so it can be heard on many different platforms, such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's all you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 25 of Twin Cities Trekkies. I am Wes.
And I'm MacKenzie.
And today we're switching up the name of their show to Twin Cities Terrans because we're going to talk about the mirror universe.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. I'm digging that.
yeah. I mean, because I thought the
Just go and
whole
casually change the name on all of our social media stuff. Everyone's like, "What?"
yeah, but I don't want. I mean, I really don't want to, go back to it like a day later, going like, okay,
I don't think you can. I remember
and
seeing that as like a joke in like people changing it for April Fool's Day and like different groups, and it's like you have a month until you change this back, and I'm like, dang.
I don't want to go through that, so I really don't. So, yeah, so we're gonna change the name of today's show to Twin Cities Terrans because we're gonna talk about all dozen or so episodes of the Mirror Universe, including all six from Star Trek Discovery. I mean, granted, if you have seen the Terra Firmer two-parter, yeah. So we're gonna talk about all dozen or so episodes of the Mirror Universe, including the six from Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot depending on like I mean I know like Deep Space Nine has a lot, and then Discovery
Has
like
six,
def
yeah.
yeah they both have their good chunks of them, so it's kind of
Yeah,
exciting.
and it's kind of crazy that Discovery has actually used the mirror universe as part of its storyline.
Which that always makes me super excited. It's one of my praises of Discovery is that. So I absolutely love that. My dad and I were always super into all of the dark mirror stuff. So that makes me super happy that it's become like a story arc in Discovery.
Yeah, so yeah, and definitely because we had the Emperor Georgiou, so in the prime timeline, so and stuff like that. So to get in touch with us is simply email us at tctrekkiespodcast@gmail.com is our email address. Feel free to send us an email. We'll gladly read your email. And if you have any opinions about the Mirror Universe, you can send us an email that way. Um, you can send us a Facebook post, a comment on our Facebook post, a handle, or Instagram. The handle is tctrekkiespodcast and stuff like that. And to send us voice messages, you can send us a voice message. Simply go to anchor.fm/Twin Cities Trekkies. Click on that little message button at the bottom of the screen, and you can record your voice. Just make sure you enable your microphone and stuff like that. And just make sure that you leave a voice message if you want to. And if you also have if you're listening to us and you have a podcast, send us an email with like a 30 or
Yeah.
60-second promo of your podcast. Genre of podcast is not required.
Yeah.
And
Let us pop you in. Let us
yeah, have you
shot
featured?
for shot feature
Yeah,
each other.
because a recent episode we did, we had three of them. So, but they're going to be now spaced out and stuff like that. But yeah, because if you have a podcast, just send us an email with your 30 or 60 second promo. Excuse me. Make sure it is that long, and you talk about your genre or what you do, stuff like that. It's perfectly fine. Just keep it between 30 and 60 seconds. Uh, just we don't want you like talking about a promo for like a good hour. But just keep in mind that any feedback you may leave, vocal or written, may be featured in an upcoming episode of Twin Cities Trekkies.
Did you know that there are over 1 million podcasts out there and over 30 million episodes? So why should you listen to PodJerky? Well, we have a little bit of something for everyone. We discuss topics such as fertility, pet peeves, Netflix reviews, music, conspiracy theories, and everything in between. We will entertain you, make you laugh, and make you cry. Our amazing guests are also sure to put a smile on your face. Tune in every week to PodJerky on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. PodJerky, bringing you original flavor.
All right. So we got some news.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Always exciting that this year has been so exciting for Star Trek news. I'm always pumped to hear more.
Yeah. First, we've had the comic at this point of the recording. We've had the Comic Con at Home uh, uh, panel, and finally have our first teaser trailer for Star Trek Prodigy, starring Kate Mulgrew, um, and we've actually seen the starship that the kids are going to be taking over, the
Exciting.
USS Protostar. So it's a really awesome trailer. It's about a minute long, and it's really awesome. It's going to start streaming in the fall of this year, which is kind of like what I thought was going to be the timeline of what was going to go on.
Yeah, it's exciting when you kind of like predict stuff and then you see it coming to
Yeah.
fruition. There's a lot of really cool stuff dropped this weekend. Like, I mean, besides this, even Star Trek stuff, like we had Dune and Blade Runner and all of that too. I'm like, this is a year for sci-fi. Like,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, it's going to come after Lower Decks more than likely now, because it says streaming fall of 2021.
I know,
So
and that's even more exciting. I'm like, so soon, thank gosh.
yeah, 'cause I think that's the reason why there was only like two things for Star Trek this year, because Lower Decks and Prodigy were probably the ones who were more than likely ready to go out to the masses. So, and speaking of Lower Decks, we've had the full season trailer, and it includes more legacy characters, cameos, more
Yeah.
most notably Robert Duncan McNeil returning as Tom Paris in the
And the
form of a
plates.
in the
I
form.
love the plates.
We're speaking of the plate. They are gonna start selling that.
Yeah. I thought that was really exciting that it's like way to kind of bring back this kind of it's always kind of like a not like a joke but just like this known thing in the Star Trek community of how much people love the next generation like plates and how obsessed people are with them, and just so I just thought it was such a great like kind of on the nose joke about those plates, and now they'll be selling them with the actual like lower decks artwork, which I think is pretty sweet. I'm ready to make my office look covered in plates. Like, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, so they're gonna start selling that after I think in mid-August, I believe.
Like, hey, my
And then
birthday's at the end of August. If anyone wants anyone
yeah,
wants to get me some plates, I'm like, nah.
yeah,
I'm not looking to look like Umbridge in my office space with all my Star Trek plates.
yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what they're gonna do, and they're only gonna make them for 47 days, which is
Oh man, wild. It's gonna be wild. I
yes.
It'll be interesting to see that all play out.
Um, some more news. We have finally got some more guests for Star Trek Mission Chicago, which will be next April,
I didn't hear
April
about this.
8th to the 10th of 2022. This is their official Star Trek convention. The Star Trek Las Vegas has lost its official license from Viacom CBS. So that's
Um,
why it's called the 55-year mission now, which starts next month. Um, like I think as of this recording, it will not be happening by the time this episode drops. It will be going on, or just
very
started.
cool.
So the 55-year mission at the Rio again in Las Vegas, or something like that. And I think they're gonna move to Bowie's or something like that next year or something like that. One of the
Ooh,
new
that's where I was
venue
just at.
venues, one of the new venues in Vegas for next year. So
That's cool.
so yeah. So by the time this episode drops, the 55-year mission probably will be going on or just started. So but definitely that. But then we got more guests for Mission Chicago, which is their official Star Trek podcast, Star Trek convention, going to every city every year. Um, this next year being Chicago, probably next year it might be somewhere else. Um, and just for a weekend. We There was one guest who was announced back in April. It was Will Wheaton,
Yeah,
but now they have added Kate Mulgrew from Prodigy and Voyager, and Michelle Hurd from Star Trek Picard. So
super exciting.
by the time probably they are at Mission Chicago, I have a feeling that Picard season 2 will be airing or just started to air. So I mean, nice little promo for Picard, at least for Michelle Hurd. So definitely for that. So yes, and then tickets are on sale starting on the 29th of July. So for that
Ooh, that's
event,
soon.
yeah, it's coming up soon. Yeah, about
You thinking about
another.
going?
Uh, I mean, I wouldn't mind going. Granted, I have a big trip planned in October this year, but I don't have any plans for 2022.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, I wouldn't mind going to Chicago to go to the Star Trek convention because it's the easiest one to get to
yeah,
by train or by air.
yeah.
So I mean, it'd be like
Chicago is just a little skip and hop. I mean, from the Twin Cities, you can drive there too, and it's
it's an
like, and you
8-hour
can take a
drive.
bus. Yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, like I've done it before, like gone to visit friends, and it's like about 6 hours for us. We skittered over there, and it
Yeah,
usually is pretty nice. So
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it's a thought. I don't know. But definitely they go on sale on the 29th, and they range anywhere from like $750 to $65, um, depending on the package you want.
yeah.
Single day tickets are $65, but the packages running anywhere from like 125 up to $750. So if you got the
Ooh.
money, go do it.
Yeah, definitely something I would like to keep in mind since I have not actually been to
hmm
a lot of Star Trek conventions or any sort of Star Trek themed thing. So definitely be something to keep in mind.
Some more news. We have Emmy nominations for Star Trek Discovery and Lower Decks, all in the technical categories. Which it's kind of sad, because considering that that certain shows should be like nominated for like acting or writing.
Yeah,
And Star Trek definitely gets the heave ho when it comes to that. So, Lower Decks was nominated once for Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or a Drama Series, Half Hour, and Animation. And then Star Trek Discovery got nominated for four Emmys, inclu- including Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a Single Episode, Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or a Drama Series, 1 hour,
nice.
Outstanding Period and or Character Makeup, prosthetic, and Outstanding Prosthetic Makeup. So, Star Trek Discovery's second season got nominated for 4 last year. So, last time around. So this is equaling the amount of Emmy awards they got for Emmys for Emmy nominations for last year season 2. So,
I just think it's exciting because, like, for people who don't really keep up with Star Trek but love stuff like the Emmys, it's a great way to be like, "What's that show? Why are they nominated?" and get someone into looking at it.
yes. So definitely, yeah, definitely. I wish Star Trek would get more acting and writing. I mean, especially acting for sure. You know,
Yeah, I am
but
always kind of shocked by that, especially with I mean, both like Picard and Discovery. I just felt like they were just such really intense shows where there is some very good acting and scenery in it. And
Mhm.
to see to once again just be like, oh, cool, technical battles and things going on. Good for you guys. And I'm like, what about the acting?
Yeah, exactly. Especially for Picard.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Patrick Stewart deserves an Emmy. I am sorry, but he deserves an Emmy
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form. I mean, he's never been nominated for an Emmy. I think
Which is,
he has been nominated for an Emmy, but not for Star Trek.
yeah, which is kind of
But
mind blowing, honestly.
yeah, but he deserves one definitely. Patrick Stewart definitely deserves one. It's not for Star Trek, but for something else. That'd be, great and stuff like that. So that is exciting news. Oh, speaking of Discovery, season 3 is available now on Blu-ray and DVD. In a steelbook format too. In a steelbook. I mean, granted, I've only had one steelbook for the new series of Picard, new series of Star Trek, and that's the first season of Picard, because I honestly thought that the artwork for the steelbook for season 1 of Picard was actually better than the Blu-ray regular Blu-ray slipcover.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think CBS Home Entertainment um, did a fantastic job of using that an artwork of Picard's silhouette kind of thing for the steelbook for Picard season 1, which I own. So definitely for that. There are deleted scenes on that Blu-ray set. Definitely, there was no commentaries this time around. There were commentaries for season 2. It is probably due to the pandemic and also due to scheduling issues because season 4 is still in the process of production
hmm.
as of this recording. They're planning to probably wrap up pretty soon and stuff like that. And now we're gonna segue into the production. Segue, good segue, because actually, as of this recording, season 1, the main filming for season 1 of Strange New Worlds has wrapped.
Nice.
Has wrapped, and they literally celebrated the ending of season 1 by shooting off fireworks. Yeah,
That's super
so
cool.
it is super cool because Anson Mount is hoping that original series fans will be very, very happy about it. He had tweeted out saying, and that's a season 1 reunion wrap. We owe some pickup shots, most of which will be tackled this fall, but the lion's share of our work is in the can. Thanks to the phenomenal crew, thanks to Toronto, and thanks to our fans for being so patient. We will see you soon. Um, and stuff like that. And they also are filming VFX shots in New Mexico. So, which is kind of interesting. I can't wait to see what it's going to be. Is it going to be for Vulcan? Who knows? Um, that's my thinking.
Yeah,
Because it's New Mexico is a desert, and it could be
I
it
could
could
see it.
I could see
Any
if
of
they're
those
standing in for
Romulus.
standing in for Vulcan. If they ever go to Vulcan this year, this first season, you know,
Yeah,
or
it's been a
something.
while since we've gotten to do some good returning to that again.
Yeah.
I'd be down to see. We need some more. We need to be off the ship a little bit and be on planets more.
Yes, I agree. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the character drama and stuff like that, but we also need to start exploring.
Yeah, I'm like that's my biggest thing with the later stuff is just being like we need more exploration since this is exploring strange new worlds. Let's do a little actual planetary exploration.
Yes, totally. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, definitely. Season 1 has definitely wrapped of production for Strange New Worlds and stuff like that. And yeah, definitely like that. That's gonna be exciting. And oh, this is a big news day, folks. I am just gonna let you guys know that straight out. We actually have new news about the Star Trek movie coming out in 2023. They have landed a director and writers for the upcoming
Thank
film.
goodness.
It is, what's his name now? Matt Shankman is the director of the new Star Trek film. He is coming off WandaVision,
Nice.
the 9 episode series on Disney Plus, which earned an impressive 31 Emmy nominations when they were announcing the Emmy Awards. WandaVision was nominated for 31 Emmy Awards, including one for Outstanding Directing for a limited series, which
Very promising.
which was very promising for that. And also they have announced their 23, not 31. 23, not 31. There is the writers for this episode, for this new movie are Lindsay Beer and Geneva Robertson Dorette. Beer is have projects that are in still in development or in pre-production, but definitely for Geneva Robinson Dorette, she co-wrote Captain Marvel and
Oh, very
and
cool.
the Tomb Raider film in 2018. So she wrote that movie. So if this comes to fruition, which they're warp speeding toward production, they will start production in the spring. We don't know exactly where in the timeline it's going to be set. I mean, I've heard rumors that it's going to be another Kelvin timeline film. I've heard rumors that it could be a different film altogether. It could be set in the Kelvin universe. Who knows?
Yeah,
Which would be interesting itself, stuff like that. But I have a feeling it's going to be another Chris Pine outing. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's going to be the number four that they wanted to do after Beyond,
yeah.
and
That seems to make
it
sense
probably
to
just
me.
rewritten,
Hmm.
so to include them.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that would be the most natural thing because I think it'd be kind of hard unless they completely change like the direction of that movie series or like are willing to start off fresh. I think keeping those characters that have like brought people into Star Trek with that Kelvin timeline would be
yeah,
the most like the smartest move, I guess, for keeping the
yeah,
franchise alive in that universe's
hmm
perspective.
yes, totally, yeah. And I was just, I'm just, if everything goes to fruition, the 2023 film will be the first ever written by women. So,
Oh,
yeah, the previous 13 films were all written by men. So, in some capacity, but it's just, I mean, you've had women producers on the films, but or editors, married the two editors of the J.J. Abrams films. They did, they did all three of them. They were women. But this is actually, if it comes to fruition, it'll be the first Star Trek film written by women. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So
super cool.
yeah,
I all for that girl power, man.
yeah. And finally, hey, Kenzie, have you ever seen the Netflix documentary series "The Toys That Made Us"?
I've seen some, yeah.
Did you see the Star Trek episode about it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, there's a Star Trek episode about it, and they talk about like the toy lines of Star Trek since the original series, which were Mego at first, and then
Yeah.
it was Playmates, and then it was Diamond Select, and then it's changed hands so many
Oh
times
yeah.
over
Well,
the
and
past.
I think there's just a very big lack of like Star Trek toys. At least like I wasn't really exposed unless I go to a thrift store and find some really old Star
Yeah.
Trek toys, like which that's where I've only ever seen it, or
hmm
something that my dad might have had when he was younger. But I otherwise it's mostly phasers and everything like that. You don't usually see like action figure characters as much, or something that's hopefully with Prodigy. We'll see more of this branching out of like kids' toys that are Star Trek related.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I brought up this Netflix documentary series is because they did this whole thing about it. And Playmates Toys is returning to the Star Trek toy line for the first time in over 10 years.
That is amazing.
Because the last time they had the toy line was for the first Kelvin timeline film back in 2009. They're the ones who created the original the figurine action figures of the Kelvin crew and stuff like that. They had originally planned to make more, but then they lost the license, so they couldn't make anymore. And it's been 12 years since they've had the license. So now Playmates Toys is returning in 2022 with brand new action figures, brand new play sets, kind of thing. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a lot of Playmates toys from Star Trek. I am not gonna lie, I did. I mean, I remember once I had a Commander Cisco action figure,
That's
uh,
cool.
and I used to have the Toy Enterprise that it ran on batteries. It was on the deflector dish was the batteries were,
Yeah,
and there was
that's
like four
awesome.
buttons on the neck of the Enterprise D, and they would make different sounds like phasers or torpedoes or something like that. So I also had the toy Runabout from DS9. It was based on the Rio Grande but and stuff like that. But definitely for those who collected them, you are in luck because Playmates is gonna make toys based on the new shows, and just like I think be right on the heels of Prodigy and stuff like that. Yeah, like you said, get kids
Get some
interested.
lower decks in there too, like for
Yeah.
people who want like collectibles and stuff as well, which that's exciting to see new collectibles being made. Like the Star Trek like action figures and toys and collectibles
Hmm.
realm has been kind of dominated by thrifting and secondhand shopping
Yes.
for these items, like vintage, and
Yeah.
not so much like current stuff. So it's exciting to see like new things being put into circulation. So for whatever reason you want the toys or collectibles, that there'll be new ones rather than just trying to collect old vintage collectibles. So it's exciting.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after that. What happens with it. Because like you said, people have been collecting them and spending X amount of dollars on like eBay or Amazon or with. Oh, I mean, I when I saw the episode from Star Trek for the toys that made us, I'm like going like, wow, these people are insane. I mean, but I understand why you want to collect them, because there'll be like props and stuff like that you can bring to your
Yeah.
convention and put it on your like if you had a phaser or something like that, you could like, have it in a holster. So, but anyway, I think we should get into it.
Yeah. Talking about alternate timelines in the Kelvin timeline, we got to talk about the other important alternate timeline
The
of Star
mirror,
Trek.
yeah, the mirror universe.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The mirror universe. First introduced back in the original series in episode Mirror Mirror, and written by Jerome Bixby, and introduces a completely the Federation is completely different, doesn't exist. It's a bunch of uh,
Terran Empire.
the Terran Empire. Yeah, the Terran Empire. It was just referenced as the Empire
Yeah.
in Mirror Mirror, but then we found out that the actual name was Terran Empire later on in Deep Space Nine. So
And what a weird thing about like this like mirror universe, I guess, is that it's almost, I mean, like it's truly a mirror. Like it's not just like an alternate set of timeline, like where people have different background stories. They almost inexorably end up in the same exact situations as the Prime universe,
mhm,
but in a really evil version. Like it's
yeah,
kind of like it's a weird like evil reflection of the Prime universe. So like anything you can imagine happening in the Prime Star Trek universe is likely happening in the Mirror universe, but in like an evil way.
yes, yes, totally, yeah. Like because any species that the Terran Empire encounters, they subjugate them
Yep.
by destroying them from orbit or conquering the planet,
Yeah.
like it was the Klingon Empire, like
Yep.
and stuff
I
like
know.
that.
Well, I always thought my first. I mean, I knew no one about the like the Mirror universe and everything through watching the original series, but I kind of, I was still pretty young when I watched that, and I remember when Enterprise was on and seeing that episode. There was that two-parter,
Yep.
but just seeing that actually on TV, like I remember my dad and I were so excited to watch that because everybody knows about First Contact and
Mhm.
that whole famous scene with Zephyrum Cochrane and everything. And all of a sudden, you just instead see him shoot and kill the Vulcans, being like, I can't do that. And so let's just take them over and raid their ship. And then it's
Yep.
like, what? And my dad was like, no way, because it just been a long time. He didn't really watch a lot of Deep Space Nine on his own, and so he kind of like had lost track about any of the Terran Empire stuff. And so he got really excited about me, like, oh, we have to like dig into all of this now, because this is a huge part of the Star Trek universe and they haven't really done a lot with it. But it was just kind of interesting to see like possible origin story of where that began.
Yeah, and I remember watching that for the first time, and I go like, instead of giving trying to give this the live long and prosper, he just takes out his rifle and shoots the Vulcan,
Yep.
and because and that's the divergent point between the prime timeline and the mirror universe. So, and stuff like that, and then everything after that is like the Terran Empire goes through a rebellion, which was, I think, according to the writer Mike Sussman, they were trying to like it was kind of like a mirror of what was happening, kind of like their version of Star Wars, um,
Yeah.
like the rebellion and the Empire, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. But in this case, it was all the alien species that the Terran Empire had conquered.
Yeah. And then their whole fear of ever like both sides are kind of aware of each other,
Hmm.
but the Terran Empire side was scared of the Prime timeline show
Yeah.
or Prime universe showing that because they were scared to lead to rebellion.
Yes. Yeah, and in that two-parter, we have it's a sequel to the Tholian Web, which we didn't know what happened to the Defiant, the
Yeah.
Constitution class Defiant, after the Tholian Web, after it disappeared in interspace. Um, I think I think that's a strong episode from season 3 of the original series
Hmm.
is the Tholian Web, and is one of my favorites from season 3 at least.
Yeah.
And we get to see what happens to the Defiant after that. It actually crossed over into the mirror universe and ended up 150 years, 100 years before it was supposed to exist.
Yeah. That's just so crazy.
And then Archer is like all the crew are evil and wants to kill each other, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's the biggest theme from the Mirror Universe is that the biggest difference between humans and Terrans is that Terrans have this almost like biological demeanor to want to sabotage and murder everyone, like every man for themselves, truly, every Terran for themselves.
Hmm.
It seems that humans and other humanoids have left behind the whole every person for themselves mentality in the future with the Federation. And the Terrans ran with it super hard.
Yeah, and they go and they're super paranoid
Yep.
because they're always worried about the next. They're always like
Their
worried
whole
about
lives are sabotage
yeah,
and
exactly. 'Cause
backstabbing.
the backstabbing and the knife stabbing and stuff like that, and the phaser shooting, and stuff like that.
Mirror death syndrome. I'm like, so many people die like main characters in the mirror universe where it's just wild. And like they just wanted to write like a what if scenario of like killing off Cisco or killing off like a main character because that's what they do. And I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, they like to murder each other and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and it's just like, and Archer takes control of the Enterprise NX-01, from Captain Forrest and stuff like that. Doesn't kill him, put him in the brig,
Yeah.
which I thought was like kind of like bad to do, but it's like maybe he wanted him to be Enterprise after he found a Defiant and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and
They definitely fall more on the side of if they don't kill, they want to conquer, as in like take over and use the people like
mhm,
indentured servants, kind of like when they conquer, being like, nope,
yes,
you're subjugation of the Terran Empire now.
yeah, and stuff like that. Yep, and it's just crazy. And then, yeah,
I
it's
thought it was kind of crazy in Discovery, like they really fleshed out a lot more of the backstory and
yeah,
uh current events and things happening in the mirror universe. And I thought the weirdest thing was that they actually decided to kind of denote an actual biological difference with being sensitive to light. Terrans are
yep,
slightly sensitive to light compared to humans, and that was like the only big
hmm,
difference between humans and Terrans, or like
yep,
most people in not even just humans, but just in general, the lighting is different
yes,
in the mirror universe, which I thought was kind of crazy. So at least there becomes sort of a test, right, to figure out if you're a
yeah,
Terran or a human, just flash a light at them, and if they are like
yeah,
photophobic, then you'll know that they're Terran. But I
yeah,
mean, also, what person doesn't react badly to getting a flashlight shine in their face? So I'm not sure about that, but
yeah,
I might also be like, ah, like ever take a picture of flash on, that might be tough. But maybe it's way more of a bad experience if you're Terran than a person.
Yes, and it's yeah, and Discovery really did flesh that out. They we didn't know exactly what happened after what happened in Inner Mirror Darkly, other than the fact that they've kept the Defiant for the last 100 years. They
Hmm.
cannibalize. It looked different when it was the wireframe in Discoveries,
Yeah.
Despite Yourself, which actually was one of my favorite episodes from season one of Discovery, Despite Yourself, directed by Jonathan Frakes. The one where they change everything to match the mirror Discovery and stuff like that, and stuff like that. And they were talking about the Defiant and stuff like that. It was definitely different than it was in the original series. And I remember that photo was shown and on social media, and then Ted Sullivan, who was an executive producer on Discovery season one, and I think the first half of season two, um, had said that in the last 100 years they had cannibalized the ship to look at more menacing and stuff like that, and that's why it looked different than it did back in Enterprise. So it was interesting to see that, and then yeah, and we all found out that Lorca was from the Mirror Universe. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
so crazy. Which I think is, I mean, there's a lot of like, I feel like there's some pop culture references to the Mirror Universe. And if
hmm
you are one of the Mirror Universe, or which side are you on? Like, I think of, I mean, my biggest one where I was super excited to tell people was in South Park. They have an episode.
yeah,
It's Spooky Fish, I think. And it's like, but everyone has goatees, but then you find out Cartman is actually the Mirror Universe, like the evil one, not the Mirror Universe version of
yeah,
himself, which brings it to mind like every time there's been like a villain or someone really evil in the Prime universe. So are they good in the, are they good in the Mirror Universe then? Like, is
yeah,
there a difference? Is it some literal antithesis of the Prime universe? But
hmm
I think the funny thing that stuck around, like that everyone always references, is the goatee thing because of the original series. Like, oh, everybody's got beards all of a sudden, or goatees. Like in Community, they also do that too. Like
yeah,
Ahmed is like, oh yes, we all have to wear goatees. Like,
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a staple of the at least for at least for Discovery and Enterprise and the original series, that the
yep,
Vulcans would all be goateed. At least
yeah.
the main Vulcans were.
Which I'm like, man, who just you're just recycling the original Klingon, like the original Klingon character design. It's like everybody just has facial hair. That makes them a Klingon.
Yeah, and that's why because Saval was an Enterprise was goateed. Sarek in Discovery's Mirror Universe counterpart was goateed,
Yep.
and Spock was in Mirror
Yep.
Mirror.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, definitely yeah, and it's
And
interesting to
also in the Mirror universe, the scantily clad, like
yes.
way less clothing for the women. All women or femme characters all have to have less clothing.
Yes, and they all were. I mean, especially in Enterprise and the original series. Thank
Yeah.
God they got rid of it for Discovery.
Yeah, I'm like, where's the midriff at? Because
Yeah,
that's the Terran Empire sure loves midriffs.
yeah, and then going like, yeah, yeah, they totally redesigned the female uniforms for Discovery, especially for the ones in like Power, like Michael Burnham and Sylvia Tilly. Uh, having this like gold plated, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
super epic looking, like
yeah.
armor outfit.
They were like more like that's for like for captains and stuff like that. They were wearing that like a gold thing, like stuff like that. And I mean that was thank God they got rid of those. But from what I understand, for Discovery, the uniforms for the Mirror Universe crew that were black, they were black and stuff like that. They were uncomfortable. Because
Yeah,
it was like the
like
leotards.
most uniforms.
Yeah,
Until like I think the only uniforms I've actually heard that were comfortable, like that people noted, were the Kelvin timeline uniforms, where they're actually made out of like a nice material that's like breathable and like literally meant for like moving
yeah,
around in.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, but the black uniforms for the Starfleet officers in the Mirror Universe and Discovery were very uncomfortable from what I understood. So I mean they for at least for season one, when they revisited for season three, um uh they were made slightly more comfortable, I guess, from what I understand. So and but definitely they were yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, for Discovery, yeah, it's thank God they got rid of the midriffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other big and notable like power struggle that's explained a lot. I mean, both like with Discovery and Deep Space Nine, which was not Deep Space Nine also did a lot of fleshing out
Hmm.
of the mirror universe. Was the Klingon Cardassian alliance is
Yes.
very interesting to see that happen. Which I've always wanted the symbol for that, like the combined symbol that they have, like the Klingon and Cardassian
Hmm.
signets in one, but I thought that was kind of an interesting take on the difference between the Prime universe and the Mirror universe. Like, how did that come to be?
Yeah, and it's like because it was all Kirk's fault why
Mm-hmm.
the Terran Empire fell by the time of Deep Space Nine,
Yep.
because of him influencing the goateed Spock into changing the Empire for the better, you know, because I mean, granted, if I was a person like Kirk and saw this death and destruction, and I wasn't like the power hungry version of him,
Yeah.
and I would be like trying to tell this Spock character, hey, come on, let's can you reform this Terran Empire into something that's benevolent and so
Yeah.
right and yeah, but it's but unfortunately that's what happened. It like in the 100 years after Kirk left, it was a power struggle until the Terran Empire was conquered and all the Terrans were essentially slaves. So
Yeah. The whole
except for
like
a few privileged ones.
I just always it is confusing though with like where does goodness exist in the like in the mirror universe, like
Hmm.
even with the Terran rebellions, like it's still they're still like inherently evil in at the core anyway.
Hmm.
Like it just feels weird where it's like a different layer of lesser of two evils. Like which would you rather have, like these evil Terrans or having the Cardassians and Klingons ruling over
Yes.
things. And it's like it's just kind of a weird, I don't know, it's like a weird power dynamic that's sometimes hard to follow a little bit because I'm like, isn't everyone inherently bad? So like it's hard
Yeah.
to root for anybody because they're all kind of evil.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting to see that happening, because we got crossover was the first one, and stuff like that. You got Bashir and Kira crossing over into the mirror universe and finding all of this, especially Bashir seeing all the humans being like in this ore processing center with evil Odo.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no jokes. That's my rule of obedience.
Which also though, I mean, that's not even that off character for Odo. So I'm like, oh
It
hey, he's
wasn't.
like I'm like, he's about the same, huh? He's pretty neutral.
Yeah, he is pretty neutral, but from what I understand, like he really liked that uniform. Rene Auberjonois enjoyed that uniform so much that when they redesigned Odo's uniform for season 3, he had the neck,
Yeah.
the neck thing. He didn't have that in the first 2 years. So, for Odo's uniform, he didn't have the
Yeah.
neck. Now, but in season 3, he had the neck.
That's it. That's
Uh,
subtle. That's cool
Yeah,
though.
yeah, it was cool. And I think one of the awesomest visual effects ever for Star Trek is when in crossover, when Bashir shoots Odo and kills him, he explodes into a million pieces. I think it's a really cool visual effect there. I
And also
mean,
kind of makes sense with like what happens when a shapeshifter dies and they have no control over
yeah,
how their body is held together. They
yeah,
just literally like fall apart at the seams.
yeah. Who knows? Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, but and then we get to episodes like Through the Looking Glass and Shattered Mirror and stuff like that. Especially we got Mirror Wharf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked Mirror Wharf. I thought he was a really interesting character there. Brutal, but
But
definitely.
also he kind of is a brutal character anyway. That's why it feels weird like when you have characters that already are kind of like
Mhm.
I don't know, like a pretty brutal character in the first place. How does the mirror universe handle them?
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly. So he just made him more evil, I guess.
Yeah,
Huh.
like more inherently willing to be evil, whereas like Worf obviously has some like ignorant things about him, but he was always trying to be the best.
Yeah.
He's always trying to improve himself a little bit, which I can give him that, even though he's a terrible dad. But
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And then it pretty much ends in the 24th century with the episode Emperor's New Cloak, in which the Klingon technology was never. I mean, the cloaking technology was never there. But then you have a canonical issue here because in a couple episodes previous, they appeared out of nowhere.
yeah,
Or a cloaking device, and then the cloaking device in that episode of DS9, and it's like, what? They were already there.
yeah. No, it just, it is like I wish they'd flesh it out more. Like I haven't personally read, but are there comics and books around the mirror universe? I'm assuming,
Yes,
but like
plenty of them.
considered non-canon or something.
Plenty of them.
Okay, that's
Plenty
good
of them.
because
There's
I would love to get into that more because I think that's one of the things where I'm like, it's so promising, and I'd love to see more done with the mirror universe. Just especially like we have like the gap of never seeing anything with like really Voyager or Next Generation. Like Worf is our only sort of character. So we know then that Next Generation characters likely also obviously exist in the mirror
mhm,
universe. We just never see anything about them because
yep.
Worf is technically that, and just following the guidelines of how it works. Pretty much everybody has a mirror counterpart.
Yeah, and there are some great novels about um, like their versions of how they wrote their mirror universe and stuff like that, and stuff like that. And it's really there's a few of them like that. There's one very good one. It's made in the 90s. It was published before a crossover, the episode DS9 called Dark Mirror by Diane Duane, um, in which the Enterprise D is flung into the mirror universe by their alternate selves, and they're the ones who are going to try to their alternate selves are going to take over the Enterprise and send it back, and then try to conquer the Federation, because apparently according to that version of the mirror universe, the Terran Empire had conquered all of known space.
Which I'm
So
like, hey, if we want to learn more about, I feel
yeah,
like if anybody had the most advantage of being conquest for the Terran Empire in the mirror universe, it'd be Voyager. The fact that they get, thrown
yeah,
way out and have to make their way back. Imagine how many conquests like
yeah,
they would have pursued. And that's why I'm always like, they would have been the ones I feel like that would have changed the course of the Terran Empire out of anybody, because they truly go to a new part of space and meet new aliens, and or
yeah.
rather in that I'd assume conquer new aliens and having contact with like the Borg and being like, how do you handle the Borg and conquering them? Do we just become the Borg? Like,
Hmm.
how would that even work in the mirror universe? Like, how does the Borg work?
I mean, if you can consider Living Witness from Voyager their version of a mirror universe, and then yesterday's Enterprise for Next Generation, if you could consider those like mirror universe episodes, because they never
Yeah,
touched the mirror universe in those shows. I mean, because it's like an alternate version of themselves and stuff like that, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
So
why I always wonder, it's like, is that not canon but like
mhm,
sort of, or do we need to have like a written in kind of idea of what the mirror universe versions of themselves would be?
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's our feelings about like, and then I actually really did enjoy the how Discovery has done the mirror universe,
Yes.
especially in the two-parter Terra Firma from season 3. Um, how they wrote out Giorgio out of the
Hmm.
show. So yeah, and I thought that was interesting because I had no idea. It was like, oh, the Guardian of Forever and stuff like that, and I thought it was pretty cool to see that,
It's
and
really nice to see it like fleshed out more, and and exciting to learn more about this already existing
yeah.
part of the Star Trek universe, but not really knowing much about it. And I think they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, and especially you got Mary Wiseman and Nico Martin Green actually playing the mirror universe version of themselves, not the prime timeline trying to fake it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting to see because I'm a big fan of Mary Wiseman and Discovery. I mean, I don't know, I have a weakness for redheads.
No,
Um,
yeah.
but and stuff like that. And I thought the whole two-parter was great. I mean,
Hmm.
granted, I was hoping to see Jason Isaacs again
Yeah,
because he said he wants to be back. Yeah, said he wants to be
it'd be
back.
nice to yeah, it'd be nice to see him back.
Yeah, and we thought that, oh, maybe he is back, and never came. So
Yeah,
it's like, come on, you tease
I'd
it
hope that
so
we're gonna
hard.
see more allusions to the
Orca.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if we got the Prime Orca on Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, I,
He said he would want to come back. So I mean, he enjoyed his time on Star Trek. He wouldn't want to come back. So which is nice. You know, I mean, some people who just absolutely hate working on Star Trek and they actually let people
yeah,
know
it's
about it.
nice to see somebody who's like really happy and proud of being part of Star Trek. So
Yeah,
I can appreciate it. I'm like, write them in, do it. Let's do more exploration, get more of the non-canon fodder, and let's start injecting that into the actual canon of Star Trek. I want to see more books and comics that pursue certain storylines get written into Star Trek, where it's like you have so much to work with. Let's see it happen.
yeah, definitely. And I think that the Picard season 2 is gonna have a version of the Mirror Universe somehow, and who knows
Yeah,
with
I
the
sort of I wonder what Q would be like in a mirror universe. What is Q like as a person?
probably a nice person.
Yeah, is Q inherently good or a different sense? I mean, he's not bad. He's definitely like an anti-hero kind of character, but really selfishly so because he only does it for his own entertainment. I'm like, what is Q like? He would just be the ultimate conqueror in the mirror universe because he's so powerful. And I'm like, maybe he's just not powerful at all. What if he's just enslaved, just like the rest of non-human or non-Cardassian or Klingon?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it happening. Yeah. So I think that's about it. Any final thoughts?
I just want to hear about people's ideas of the mirror universe, or if you have a favorite episode or favorite character that's a mirror version of itself. Because I always think that's interesting to be like, how would you imagine a character in the mirror universe that hasn't been shown to us yet, or what does it take to write a mirror version of oneself?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. And I actually unfortunately believe that we are in the mirror universe somewhat.
Yeah, I'm like
So,
inexorably tied to a mirror universe of our timeline right now. It's like if you
yeah.
crossed over, my dad always joked about that too, being like we crossed over to the mirror timeline at some point.
Yes, we must have. Yeah, we must have noticed it. So, next week, episode 26. Wow. We did
Yeah,
about we did an equivalent of one Star Trek full season.
I
Um,
know. I'm like, wow, there we go,
yeah, I know.
producing.
Yeah, and it's gonna be number 2 of our character analyses of the main Star Trek characters. This one will be focusing on Jean-Luc Picard. So this is going to be an interesting discussion. I think it's going to be fun. All right. So until next week, live long. Not
Yeah,
uh,
what we gotta
long
do
live
this.
the Empire.
Yeah, long live the empire.